The air inside First National was sterile, cold, and smelled faintly of expensive floor wax and old paper. My mother-in-law, Beatrice, stood beside me like a jailer, her fingers digging into my arm every time a teller looked our way. We were there to deposit the $500,000 inheritance check from my late grandmother, money I had specifically set aside to renovate the old house. "Just put it in the joint savings, Maya," Beatrice hissed, her eyes scanning the lobby with predatory hunger. "It's safer that way." My hands were shaking as I held the check. Something felt wrong, but I didn't know what yet. As we approached the counter, the teller, a woman named Elena, looked up. Her eyes met mine, and for a split second, I saw a flash of raw, unfiltered panic. She didn't say a word. She just slid a deposit slip toward me, but as I reached for it, she pressed a folded scrap of paper into my palm, her grip iron tight. "Run. Look at the ledger. You're being erased." My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. My breath hitched, sharp and jagged. I glanced at the ledger page she had subtly nudged forward. It was dated yesterday. Under authorized signatories, my name had been crossed out with a thick, black ink line. In its place, only Beatrice's name remained. The blood drained from my face. I realized then, I wasn't a daughter-in-law, I was a target. I had to get out, or I'd lose everything. I spent the next 48 hours living like a ghost in my own home, a silent observer to my own destruction. While Beatrice and my husband, Julian, sat in the living room sipping wine and whispering about new beginnings, I was huddled in the basement office, my heart a cold stone in my chest. I didn't reach for his phone. I knew he was too careful for that. Instead, I accessed our shared cloud drive, the one we used for family photos. Deep within a folder labeled Landscaping Invoices 2024, I found the black box of our marriage. It wasn't just a few emails, it was a meticulously crafted spreadsheet. Columns of my assets, my grandmother's jewelry, my 401k, even my childhood savings, were color-coded with dates of planned liquidation. The most chilling discovery wasn't the money, though. It was a PDF titled Maya_final_exit. I clicked it, my hands slick with sweat. It was a draft for a mental health intervention, signed by a doctor I'd never met. They weren't just planning to take my money, they were preparing to have me declared incompetent. They wanted me locked away in a facility while they spent my inheritance. A notification popped up on the screen, a message from Julian's business partner, Evelyn. "The papers are ready. Once she signs the insurance forms tomorrow, the transfer to the offshore account is automatic. The doctor is on standby." I leaned back, a bitter, jagged laugh escaping my throat. They thought they were playing checkers, but they had just handed me the rulebook to their own downfall. I wasn't going to run anymore. I was going to wait. The next few days were a masterclass in psychological warfare. I forced myself to walk through the house with a glazed, vacant expression, playing the role of the unstable, grieving wife they so desperately wanted me to be. Every morning, I would wake up and stare into the mirror, whispering to myself that I was the predator, not the prey. Downstairs, Beatrice was relentless. She'd hover over me while I made coffee, her voice dripping with artificial saccharine. "Oh, Maya, dear, you still look so fragile. Julian says you're having such trouble with your memory lately. Maybe you should just stay upstairs and rest while we handle the paperwork for the house." I'd lower my head, forcing a tremor into my hands. "You're right, Beatrice. I just feel so lost. Everything is such a blur." I could see the glint of victory in her eyes, the thrill of someone who believes they've already won. Julian played his part too, the concerned, doting husband. He'd rub my shoulders with hands that felt like icy clamps, whispering, "Don't worry about the finances, honey. Just sign the insurance forms tomorrow. It'll make everything easier." Each time I nodded, a fresh wave of disgust washed over me. I wasn't just stalling, I was baiting the trap. I made sure to leave my laptop open to a fake, forgotten password recovery screen for their account, letting them believe I was completely distracted by my own manufactured incompetence. They were so busy counting their imaginary millions that they never noticed I was actually counting their sins. The night of the Justice Valley Gala was suffocating, thick with the scent of lilies and the pretension of the local elite. I stood in the back, draped in a plain, samba dress, watching Beatrice and Julian move through the crowd like royalty. Beatrice was wearing my grandmother's diamond brooch, the one she swore had been stolen months ago. The audacity of it made my vision blur, but I kept my hand steady on the remote hidden deep in my clutch. And now, Julian announced, his voice booming over the speakers as he signaled for my attention, I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, Maya, for her unwavering support during my company's recent expansion. The crowd turned, expecting a bashful, fragile woman to wave. Instead, I stepped out from the shadows. I caught Julian's eye, and for a fleeting second, his smug grin faltered as he saw the steel in my gaze. I pressed the button. The massive LED screen behind the stage flickered to life. Instead of the planned family photos, the audio of Beatrice and Evelyn planning my incompetence intake blared through the hall, crystalline and damning. The room went deathly silent, the only sound the muffled gasps of the guests, as they stared at the financial spreadsheets I'd projected alongside the audio, showing the exact wire transfers from my accounts to Julian's offshore slush fund. Beatrice's face went corpse pale, her knees buckling as the crowd's whispers turned into a roar of open, stinging condemnation. The trap had sprung, and there was nowhere left for them to hide. The fallout was swifter than any storm. As the gala devolved into chaos, the heavy thud of police boots on the mahogany floor signaled the end of their charade. Officers pushed through the stunned crowd, their badges glinting under the stage lights. Julian didn't even try to run, he stood paralyzed, his mouth agape as the cuffs clicked shut around his wrists. Beatrice, meanwhile, was dragged out, screaming incoherently about her reputation, while my grandmother's brooch was pried from her trembling lapel. The legal proceedings were brutal and efficient. Armed with the digital trail I'd painstakingly gathered, my lawyer ensured there was no escape hatch for them. The judge didn't just nullify the property transfers, he froze every asset, leaving them buried under a mountain of legal fees and public infamy. Within weeks, the company expansion had collapsed into bankruptcy, and their social circle had vanished, leaving them ostracized and penniless. 6 months later, my life has found a quiet, steady rhythm. I spent my inheritance restoring my grandmother's house, turning it into a sanctuary that feels truly mine. Sometimes, I hear whispers through the grapevine, Julian is working manual labor, and Beatrice is living in a cramped, miserable apartment, bitter and alone. I feel nothing for them, no anger, no triumph, only the profound, clean clarity of a life reclaimed. I open my front door to the morning sun, take a deep breath of fresh air, and finally, for the first time in years, I am the only person who holds the key to my own future.